What do you teach me today?
There is a framework out there that uses movies to structure how we should communicate about what we do. And it universally applies to anybody in any type of business.
Is this like what we can learn about prospecting through movies?
If I'm trying to sell to you, if I'm trying to serve you, you are the hero. And I have to remember that and not try to play that role myself in conflict with you. So in business, we want to play the role of the guide. I have a plan for you to save the day, and allow our prospect to play their natural role as the hero.
Put money into Dollar General, we will.
And if you can figure out what your prospect's internal conflict is and show them how you can solve that, you can win the business.
So good.
Tommy Boy is Star Wars.
Fat guy in a little coat. Take it off, and I'm serious.
But anytime somebody asks you, so what do you do?
I have a particular set of skills.
This is your answer.
If you let my daughter go,
I will not.
I will not.
Search for you.
Search for you.
I will not find you.
I will not find you.
I lost it here.
I lost it here.
Empathy is the flower in the guide cocktail.
Oh.
I just really mixed metaphors there. Whatever. If you practice this enough, you can nail a one-liner that can land on just about anybody.
I drink it up.
If you're one of those people that are out there going after the business that you want, times like this are a great opportunity for you. You can crush that next wave.
This is going out and mining for gold.
So these times are some of the best times to really build your business and set it up so that it can scale when the markets come back. Welcome to season 2 of Commercially Speaking.
Yeah, baby! Hoo-hoo. I'm Timmy Barron, ADHD.
And I'm Bo Barron, CCIM, and this is episode 1 of season 2.
Season 2, and this is the podcast where Bo teaches me everything about commercial real estate because he's like an expert in it, and I am not. I'm an actor comedian. I'm just learning as much as I possibly can so I can make fun of y'all.
Yes.
What do you teach me today?
Well, I thought we'd talk about movies today.
Okay.
Especially since you like movies.
I love movies.
You've been in movies.
I've been in movies. Yes.
There is a framework out there that uses movies to structure how we should communicate about what we do. I thought we'd jump into this, because the subject matter is just so interesting, and it universally applies to anybody in any type of business, but we'll thread it through commercial real estate.
Is this like what we can learn about prospecting through movies?
Yeah, this will have a prospecting bent to it.
For those that, when they hear the word prospector, think of the old prospector, what would that mean in terms for me?
Prospecting is pursuing the business that you want. All the things that you do to go out and win that kind of business. So it's just being crystal clear on the business that you want and systematically going out there and doing it. And so at a high level, you can create a system that'll help you pursue the business that you want. But at a tactical level, there's all the things like, we did that episode on how, should we leave a voicemail or not, and how to leave a great voicemail.
The art of the voicemail.
That's right. Yeah, right. Right there. But that's a very tactical piece of an overall prospecting system. I thought what we do this episode is kind of cast the idea of how we can use movie making frameworks to pursue the business that we want. And then at the end, we'll get real tactical and talk about kind of a Swiss Army knife tactic that we'll pull from the movies that you can use in prospecting in a lot of different ways.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. So prospecting could apply to any type of business that is proactively going out and getting clients. So investors have to prospect too to find the money, or is this specifically for getting clients?
If you think in terms of like Hearthstone Capital.
Yeah.
So we've just launched fund number 2. We are using some of this framework in how we talk about what we're doing so that we can attract investors who will invest with us.
Yeah. Okay.
So it doesn't really matter, what the situation is.
Yeah. This is going out and mining for gold.
As opposed to, we've talked about the 3 Ps of commercial real estate. Put up a sign, put it online, and pray, right? That's all passive stuff. This is the other side of the coin. This is not highway brokerage when the market is frothy, when there's a lot of traffic on the highway. Highway brokerage is you can go out and stand in the middle of the highway, you'll get run over by a deal. When times are good, you just have to be breathing and you can make some money.
Yeah.
Well, right now, times aren't so good. We're in a downturn. We've still got higher interest rates than we're used to over the past number of years and all this stuff. And market conditions are tougher. And so those people who have a crystal clear vision on who their ideal client is and are pursuing them intentionally, they have a great opportunity during the downturns to really increase their market share. The pie might be shrinking, but most of our competition is passive. And
They're waiting for the traffic to pick up.
That's right. They're waiting to get run over by the next deal. And if you're one of those people that are out there constantly, systematically, intentionally going after the business that you want, man, times like this are a great opportunity for you. It will get better. It's cyclical. It always, at the end of every downturn, there's an upturn. And if you go into that upturn with a tremendous amount of momentum and much more market share, then you can crush that next wave.
Yeah.
So these times are some of the best times to really build your business and set it up so that it can scale when the markets come back.
Yeah. Great.
So let's talk about some of your favorite movies.
Okay, great.
So I'll give you categories. You give me your favorite ones.
Okay.
All right. We'll just start with something easy like comedy. Like name top 3 favorite comedies.
Easy. Tropic Thunder.
Okay. Haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen Tropic Thunder?
Yeah, we can fix that later.
Yeah. Good Morning Vietnam.
Okay.
And then there's another one that sticks out. We'll say Step Brothers.
All right. What about like dramas?
Good Will Hunting.
If I'm being honest, I figured this would be easier for you.
I understand that this big gap will be cut out and people are going to think, oh, wow, I came up with those right away. There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis. Do you know that one?
No.
With the oil? No. I drink your milkshake. I drink it up. You don't know that one?
No.
So good. Air Force One. Or The Fugitive. Let's go with The Fugitive. Air Force One is a little bit more adventure.
Now, what about epics?
This is really easy. Because you got Avengers Endgame.
Okay.
My favorite Spider-Man, which would be Spider-Man 2.
Which one is Spider-Man 2?
This is Tobey Maguire.
Yep, I got
Spider-Man 2 with Dr. Octopus. Spider-Man No Way Home, the multiverse one. That might be the best one. But if we're picking one, Spider-Man 2. And what's one you got in mind? Like Lord of the Rings or something? Star Wars?
When I think of epics, I think Star Wars, Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Wings. Lord of the Wings.
Hello, Burgess.
Star Wars.
You can find more out about Burgess here.
Burgess Quiffle. Well, why don't we do a classic like Star Wars?
Okay. So we've got an episode coming up with my good buddy Wes Gay.
Yes, so good.
Out of Atlanta. And Wes is a Storybrand guide, and he's a copywriter. He is somebody that helps you clarify your message and come up with the words that will attract the kind of customers you're pursuing.
He makes marketing fun.
He really does.
He really does. He makes it, he unlocks the mystery of it. That's so scary.
That's a great way to describe that. I know Wes because of Storybrand. Donald Miller wrote a book called Building a Storybrand, best marketing book I've ever read. And he put on a 2-day workshop in Nashville. And I was at the Mossmo group at the time. And Rod and I went and attended that workshop. But when we were leaving, we asked Donald Miller, like, hey, who can we get to help us actually do this stuff? And he's like, well, we actually don't do that. But what we have is we have certified guides that can do this for people. We're like, great, who's the best one? Who should we talk to? And he was like, Wes Gay.
Yeah.
And so we hired Wes Gay to help us redo the Mossmo Group website. And I've used him a number of times since we're using him right now with Hearthstone Capital. Yeah. And he'll be on the show. He's great.
He's great.
But I went back again and I got certified as a guide.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I went back a second time.
Yeah.
Got certified as a guide. And the difference between me and Wes, I became a guide to help the Mossmo Group do this well.
Mm-hmm.
He does it as a business. Like, this is his business. It's
right.
what he does every day, and he's an absolute expert at it. So what we're going to talk about here is kind of that Storybrand framework, but it uses like the epic hero's journey framework to marketing.
Yes.
So, your Star Wars, your Lord of the Rings, Tommy Boy. Mm-hmm. I'll be interested to see.
Tommy Boy. That's what was missing in my head. Those classics there. Tommy Boy. All the Happy Madison stuff. Anyway.
So Tommy Boy is Star Wars.
Right.
Like it's the same movie.
The hero's journey.
Yeah. It really is. And all these epic type movies, they all follow that hero's journey. And the interesting thing about the hero is at the beginning of the movie, the dude is like the weakest character. There's this story arc. He transforms into the hero by the end of the movie and he saves the day. So if you think about, Tommy Boy at the beginning of the movie, not only is he a kid at the beginning of the movie and a complete moron of a kid, then all of a sudden he grows up, he's in college as like a 30-year-old basically.
Right. And same thing.
He's still the same idiot.
Right.
But over the course of the movie, there's a lot of growth there.
Right.
And he saves the day at the end.
You want me to come fluff pillow? Mm-hmm. Leave me alone for the love of God! Fat guy in a little coat. Fat guy in a little coat. Take it off, Dad. I'm serious. Oh, Richard, what's happening? Oh man, this is going to be a movie quote. And I know all those too because Jay and I figured out how to take audio clips of that from the internet. Right in the 90s or early 2000s and put it on as ringtones for our phone. So I've got like these just embedded in my brain.
Every time Jay calls, it was like, take it off, Dad.
Yeah. Do you spray that thing for bugs? Spray it for bugs. No, it was shut up, Richard. Shut up, Richard. Yeah, Jay would give me a call. Shut up, Richard. Shut up, Richard.
All right, so Luke Skywalker, though, same thing. If you watch the beginning of episode 4 or the first Star Wars movie, which came out about the time I was born, he is such an annoying, whiny character. You hardly even like him. Yeah. It's just like, oh my gosh.
Marries his sister.
No, he doesn't.
They didn't get married. Her. No, that was an award ceremony, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. No marriage there.
We don't know what happened off screen though.
Frodo in Lord of the Rings, same thing. Weak character, he transforms, he saves the day. That's the hero in all these movies. Spider-Man, nerdy high school kid. Everything works against him. He gets bitten by a spider. He gets all these powers. He transforms by the end of the movie, saves the day. And he's still sort of a wreck the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. Now he's got all this responsibility.
Yeah, and with great power
comes great responsibility.
Right. So yeah, there's all these characters. They're basically the same character. Now, the key here in business is to understand that your client is the hero. And in a lot of sense, we're the hero of our own story. But if I'm trying to sell to you, if I'm trying to serve you, you are the hero. And I have to remember that and not try to play that role myself in conflict with you. And that's where a lot of people make a big mistake is they both try to play the hero in conflict with each other.
Right.
Not a good idea.
This is so fascinating because there's a lot of YouTubers and streamers right now that are just out there to piss people off. There's like this syndrome they're calling them having, which is the main character. They think they're the main character, which is basically just letting people know that they don't care about anybody but themselves.
Yeah, everything's about them.
Yes, it's all about them. So what you're saying is like very, very trending right now with the influencer YouTube crowd for all of you that are interested.
Now, the next thing, after you sort of understand the hero, who he is, in all these movies, weak character, and they transform and save the day kind of thing. It's one of the rules of the movies, I think. If you don't understand who the hero is and what their problem is in the first like 5 to 10 minutes, you don't want to stay. A movie has to let you know who the main character is, who is the hero, and what's their problem. That problem, that conflict that they have is that downward pressure that keeps your butt in the seats. Like you will remain in the theater until that conflict is resolved.
Right.
And if they resolve it correctly at the end, that's the big goosebumps moment, right?
Right, right.
So there's 3 types of conflict, according to the Storybrand framework. You've got the external conflict, the internal conflict, and the philosophical conflict. Now, personally, I think Star Wars is the easiest way to explain this concept. The external conflict, it's the obvious big problem. So with Star Wars, what's Luke Skywalker's big obvious problem?
Nope. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I couldn't help myself. He's lonely on his little islands. He's lonely. He doesn't know what to do. It's been a while since I've seen Star Wars. So what is his big problem?
The Death Star.
The Death Star.
The Death Star.
Is that introduced at the beginning of Star Wars?
You understand that there's a battle between good and evil. You understand who Darth Vader is right away. And so his external conflict is first probably best embodied with Darth Vader. And then it's pretty clear that the big external conflict, the thing they're trying to solve at the end of the movie is destroying the Death Star, not destroying Darth Vader.
Sure.
With Tommy Boy, it is...
He's trying to prove that he can... selling brake pads.
Yeah, so he can save the town.
Right, the town.
Save the plant, save the town.
Yeah, his dad
That's the external conflict.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings. The external conflict is...
The ring. The Mordor.
Mordor.
Yeah.
Right? It's that's the big external conflict. The hero has to transform and save the day by solving their big external conflict, whether it's the Death Star or Mordor or saving the town by selling enough brake pads or whatever. That's the external conflict. It's obvious. Great example with Taken. What's Taken about?
He's got to get his daughter back.
His daughter was taken.
Yeah.
And within like 7 minutes.
I have a particular set of skills. So I need my daughter.
Yeah, I used to have this monologue memorized. I couldn't do the accent very well, though.
I have a particular set of skills. Yeah.
Set of skills I've learned over a long career. Set of skills that makes me a nightmare.
Set of skills that makes me a nightmare.
For someone like you.
If
you let my daughter go.
I will not.
Search for you. I will not find you. I lost it here. But if you do not.
I lost it here.
I will find you.
I will kill you.
And I will kill you. And the guy says, good luck. Now look, you know right away.
That was really great.
7 minutes into that movie, you know what the external conflict is. The daughter's been taken and he's got to get her back.
Right.
Good luck. If you don't know as the audience member what that external conflict is, you are much more likely to just leave the movie theater.
Right.
Now, the internal conflict is much more interesting.
Yeah.
And this is how the hero feels about themselves and their ability to solve their external conflict. When I asked you what Tommy Boy's external conflict, what was your first answer?
To prove to his dad, to prove to everybody that he can sell and is as good as his dad.
That's his internal conflict.
Right, that's right.
That's how he feels about trying to solve the external conflict. Does Luke have what it takes to save the day? That's the internal conflict.
Right.
Applying this idea to a business environment, the external conflict is, for commercial real estate, it's can we sell it for the highest price in the fastest amount of time? Mm-hmm. So like the external conflict is dollars and cents type stuff. That's the obvious, that's the external stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to go out of business. You don't want to be bankrupt. You don't want to starve.
You don't want your planet blown up by the Death Star.
Right.
The internal conflict stuff is where people make decisions, though.
Right.
And the internal conflict has much more to do with how the potential client or prospect feels about their situation. What are they actually trying to accomplish? They're not selling this building just so they can deposit the largest check in the bank. The question is, what can they do if they sell this building?
Right.
And if you can figure out what your prospect's internal conflict is and show them how you can solve that, you can win the business.
So good. So good.
Most of your competition will compete with you on dollars and cents. Our competition is likely to compete with us by lowering their fee, which is fine because I'm going to compete with them on internal conflicts and they're going to try to undercut me on price, which is going to win them some business sometimes.
Sure.
Fine.
Good. Fine. Healthy competition.
Yeah. But I want to compete on internal conflicts. There was a woman, over the course of her marriage, every year they would buy a house. And so after 30 plus years of marriage, it was a nice portfolio and it produced a lot of income. And she wanted to sell it. And she came into our office and met with us. Now, we were competing with the residential realtor who sold her every one of those houses. Mm-hmm. So we had to overcome a very good relationship, which is very difficult to do. And oftentimes, you just can't do it. in this case, we started asking her questions to try to figure out what the internal conflict was. And in this case, she had variable income. She never knew how much money her portfolio was going to produce in a given month. And because of that, she didn't have the freedom that she really wanted. Her internal conflict was, how can I gain more freedom where I can travel to see my grandbabies? That was her internal conflict. She wanted time with her grandbabies, and she didn't feel the freedom because of a management-heavy portfolio of real estate.
Right.
And so we showed her how it doesn't matter as much what we sell the portfolio for. It's what can you buy once you've sold it, and what kind of income will that generate for you in a way that's stabilized, which will give you the freedom to go play with your grandbabies wherever they live.
Yeah.
And once we figured that out, which we did by asking some basic questions, we were able to win the business over a 30-year plus relationship.
Wow. Yeah.
That's hard to do. But you can do that when you compete on an internal conflict level and they compete with you on an external conflict level.
That's right. And I can see how you walking in, viewing her as the hero and trying to help the hero. You do have to understand her story and internal conflict. Then you know exactly what to speak to. If you are viewing yourself as the hero, you're just wanting to get that deal done. So a lot of your focus is on money, numbers, and not really the person.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or I'd be talking about myself and my experience, my expertise, and how good I am at all this stuff and the awards I've won or all this other. I'd be just talking about me the whole time. And because of all that, I can get you top dollar for this real estate.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Right.
But instead, we didn't talk about ourselves hardly at all. We just focused on the hero of the story. And we were never in conflict with roles.
The best actors are the ones that understand their role in the story. Working with new actors, green actors, people who want to be actors, you see there's this misunderstanding of, in order to learn my lines and do a good job, I have to think about my inflection or how I'm saying something. And oftentimes they will view their role as the hero or the most important. But your character is there to push forward the story. Little sidebar. In the acting technique, when you are focused and you understand what your character wants, then the inflection, how you say something, the memorization, all that comes much easier because it is coming from a place where you are connected to what is happening in the story and not so focused on how good can I do as an actor or how good can I say this or should I try to cry here? None of that matters. You have to understand the story, the hero, your role in the story. And that's how great actors are so good. They're not thinking so much about when they need to cry, right? They get themselves there through understanding that story inside and out. Anyway.
Yep. So we have external conflict, internal conflict. The third one is the philosophical conflict. Now in the movies, this is the light against the darkness, good versus evil. In business, if you're talking philosophical, I'm saying to this widow, look, you deserve to be able to spend that time with your grandbabies. Now, I remember this vividly. I'm down in Nashville at the Storybrand workshop, and Donald Miller is ruining hero's journey movies for me because now you can kind of see, the pattern and you can see what's going to happen. And you know when the bad guy kicks the cat, just to remind you about how evil he is.
Yep.
Well, he's about to be thwarted or killed or whatever. You know, let's make him really, really bad right before he eats it.
Yes.
But I remember he said, the best movies resolve the external conflict, the internal conflict, and the philosophical conflict in the same scene. And when they do that, those are the movies that you talk about later. So in Star Wars, at the end of the movie, when Luke Skywalker is in his X-Wing fighter or whatever it's called, and he puts those photons into that little bitty hole to blow up the Death Star, he resolves the external conflict, right? He defeats the Death Star. The internal conflict, he in fact does have what it takes to save the day.
Yeah.
And good wins over evil.
Yes.
The light triumphs over darkness.
Right.
And those are the scenes where like you get the goosebumps.
Yeah.
You know, they're all resolved at the same time. And it's,
right.
I was like, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. Like Braveheart, when he yells freedom.
Oh, yeah.
Right? he's standing up and dying for what he believes in.
Even though he's on his back at the time.
Right.
But he's standing up.
Right.
Yeah.
It's him yelling freedom. He's not giving in, right? Which could have been an internal conflict of like, how far can we go to save the people? Scotland.
Does he have what it takes to stand until the end?
Right.
And he does.
When I think of Goosebumps in movies, freedom in that movie is probably one of the biggest.
I remember when the first Transformers movie came out.
Yeah.
The one with Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf.
I remember walking out in the parking lot going, oh man, I'd love it if my truck would transform right now. Like how cool that would be. I just remember that was so cool.
That's so funny. Go from freedom Goosebumps to, oh man,
Transforming truck.
I left that Shia LaBeouf movie and I wanted my truck to be a transformer and just stand up.
But that's the same kind of movie. Shia LaBeouf is that weak dork of a character. He's a complete mess. He transforms, saves the day at the end.
Nice one. Transforms.
I didn't even mean to do that.
I know.
Yeah.
Those are the best ones.
So that's conflict. Now,
Terminator.
The next character that kind of fills this out, and there's a lot more to this, but we'll kind of stop after we talk about this next character, is the guide. The character who calls the hero to transform, to go on this epic journey. It's the guide that says, I have a plan for you to save the day.
Yeah.
So Yoda. Obi-Wan, Gandalf, Richard. Richard is the guide.
He is, I guess, right? Yeah, he's showing
He absolutely is the guide.
Yeah.
He's annoyed that he has to play that role, but that's his role in that movie.
That's right. Yeah, he is. Because he noticed when he wanted chicken wings, me want wingy, that he was able to get it just by talking to that lady. Yeah.
We're here.
Here.
Right here.
Is your mark on my face? Nope. Ship shape.
What happened to your face? I knew it.
Oh, Tommy, what wingy? Why don't you do that? Oh, if I can't get the wings, then
in fact, I've used that
meat lovers
clip.
Pizza in the fridge.
I've used that clip to illustrate this role of the guide.
Fantastic.
Why do you always have to deep turd these things?
Now, here's some interesting things about the guide character. You don't know much about their backstory. You know very little about Gandalf. You know very little about Yoda. The movie's not about them, but they're the strongest character in the movie. Not necessarily physically strong, but like they're the ones with the answers.
They've already taken their hero's journey.
Yeah.
That's how they're there. And then, of course, you can go watch the spinoffs later.
Right, for sure.
But it's like those characters probably almost always has already taken their hero's journey. They've already transformed. They've already gone through. And now they're able to see things in young Padawan.
But this is why the guide is such a strong character, a wise character, because they've been there before and they have the answers. So in business, we want to play the role of the guide and allow our prospect to play their natural role as the hero. And we want to help them save the day. We want to help them resolve those conflicts. And if they didn't have the conflicts, they wouldn't need us at all. No conflicts, no sale. Wes, in our next episode, he'll touch on this a little bit, but do you remember the two things that you have to play the role as the guide?
Empathy.
Empathy is one. I understand what you're going through.
Right.
I've been here before.
Right.
I know what to do.
That's right.
I get it.
Put money into Dollar General, we will.
That was good. I like
it. We will. I got to hear that again. Yeah.
You got to see your face when you do that.
Empathy and I don't know. What was the other one?
Authority.
Yeah.
And this is really where I want to focus in a little bit, is how can we communicate with our prospects in a way that demonstrates empathy and authority, take firm hold of the role of the guide so that we're supporting the hero and not in conflict with the hero.
How can we be the best guide we can?
Now, the way Donald Miller describes this, and I love this because does Tara bake much?
Oh, yeah.
So what's the main ingredient in just about anything that's...
Yeast.
No, like
flour.
Flour. Right? Empathy is the flour in the guide cocktail. Oh. I just really mixed metaphors there. Whatever. Do you remember growing up, Mom would make the oatmeal chocolate chip cookies?
Yeah.
Now,
I remember the gas that came after that.
when I was young, and so maybe you weren't even born yet, one time she made them without the salt.
Oh, she talks about this story all the time.
Now, you just have a little bit of salt, but man, if it's not there, those cookies weren't right. They were not right. They were not good. They should be good.
Yeah.
They're my favorite cookies.
Yeah. No raisins. You like them with raisins?
No, that's Dad.
Yeah.
I'm chocolate chip all the way.
Yeah. This is
like raisins. What?
Raisins,
I
ridiculous.
don't get it. Why on earth would you
throw raisins?
Violate that wonderful cookie?
Raisins are awful all around. So you take a great, beautiful, juicy fruit that pops in your mouth, and you make it look like
it's 90 years old.
Yeah, 70-year-old that's just soaked in the jacuzzi for an hour, and then chew on it like it's a booger.
Yeah, let's throw that in a cookie.
Yeah.
So authority's the salt. And think of it in terms of you just need a pinch. It's kind of a binary thing. Your prospect understands that you have authority or that you don't. This is why on so many websites you see how many testimonials.
Does any website?
Yeah, like
testimonials.
How many do you generally see?
3.
3.
Oh,
3. You don't need 4. You don't need 7. You don't need 15.
It gets too
I've got
salty.
a buddy of mine, too salty, and that trips you over into hero land. I got a buddy of mine who has all these clips, videos of a bunch of his clients talking about how awesome their experience is. And what happens is you overcook the authority and you are right back in conflict as the hero because it starts to become about you. Just check the authority box. That's it. And then make sure all the copy, all the words on your website or in your emails or in your speech when you're talking with somebody, it's laced with empathy and understanding. And it's all about the hero and not about the guide. Mm-hmm. The 3 big mistakes that I see salespeople in commercial real estate make, advisors, agents, brokers, whatever you want to call it, is 1, they just flat play the hero. They don't understand this dynamic at all. They are the hero of their story, but they're not trying to serve themselves. Mm-hmm. They make money when they serve others. Mm-hmm. So play the guide to your prospect's hero and things work much, much better. That's big mistake number 1. Big mistake number 2 is the one I just mentioned, is they overcook authority.
Over salt.
Way too much salt, bad cookie. And then the third thing is they forget the WIIFM principle. What? WIIFM. WIIFM. Everybody's favorite radio station. What's in it for me?
And back, WIIFM. What's in it for me? We are at the top of the hour.
WIIFM.
What's in it for WIIFM? Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
good morning, Vietnam. So go ahead.
Here's the Swiss Army knife of how you can speak in such a way that firmly places you into the guide role and also allows you to understand immediately if you're talking to your ideal prospect or not.
Sweet.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, when I say Swiss Army knife, you can employ this tactic at a cocktail party, at a dinner party, in an elevator, at a conference.
Youth chili cook-off.
On the phone, in an email, on a website.
A bathroom stall.
Probably.
It's probably a bad choice, but good.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Hey, I got some questions.
But anytime somebody asks you, so what do you do? This is your answer. Anytime you want to explain what you do, this is your answer. It's the one-liner straight from pitching a movie to a production company.
Pitching a movie to a production company.
It's the one-liner that they use.
Am I trying to guess this?
No, I'm just saying this is where it's from.
Oh, okay.
What I'm about to explain, it comes from pitching a movie to a studio. And it's, here's the conflict, here's what we do to resolve it, and here's how they ride off into the sunset. Or the log line, I think it's called sometimes in movies. So do you know what the log line for the movie Alien was? The very first
I don't
one?
remember. No.
Jaws in space.
Jaws in space. Yeah, okay.
Which perfectly explains what that movie's about. You got a scary something with teeth trying to kill you, and you're in space. So here's how you do the one-liner, and here's how you answer the question, what do you do? How do most people answer? Like if you're in business, and so what do you do?
I'm in business, commercial real estate broker. Right? I'm an actor. I'm a comedian.
Or they tell you the story about how their granddaddy started the company and how long they've been in the business, and it's all about them. Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
You don't hook anybody with that. Here's the one-liner. It's got 3 parts to it.
Okay.
So I think it's poorly named as a one-liner because there's 3 parts. But the first one is the hook. And instead of labeling myself, I'll just say, well, many of the clients I work with struggle with this thing.
Oh, so good.
I mean, those are your words. Many of the
Clients
that I work with struggle with, and then you name that thing. Now, that thing you name there can be an external conflict, but it's better if it's an internal conflict.
Yeah, it's way more personal.
And the more you know your ideal client, the more that you can dial in what their internal conflicts are, the better language you can use when you name what the people you work with struggle with. And if you're talking to one of those people, they will identify themselves by going like this. They will nod their head, and you know you've set the hook.
And most of the clients that I help, they struggle with not having the freedom because they've got so much in their portfolio that they're managing something all the time. And I help them get that freedom and take that off their plate. Like something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Only you'd want to wordsmith it so it was much simpler.
Sure.
This is a framework that you can learn so well that you can plug in different pieces into that external or internal conflict.
Right.
Anticipating who you might be talking to.
Right.
So if I go to a retail conference, I'm not going to talk about how I help industrial owners solve their problem. I'm going to talk more in retail terms. But the framework is so easy to switch in and out things.
Right.
If you practice this enough, you can nail a one-liner that can land on just about anybody you're talking with if you know just a little bit about them.
Right.
You know, the context of the situation is going to give you a lot of clues. But that's step one. It's many of the
Clients.
clients is not a good word there. The more specific you can be, the better. So if I'm a room full of people who are investors, I might say many of the investors I work with.
Or would you say work with or help? Or does it matter?
I think you can probably split hairs there.
Yeah, okay.
That's step one of the one-liner. Step two is I or we do this. The this is what solves that problem you just mentioned. Now, we talk a little bit about this in Wes Gay's episode as well, but here's where most people make a mistake and they try to be too complicated. They try to demonstrate how sophisticated and smart they are in the we do this, but it needs to be at a level 2 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Right.
Like a 5th grader needs to understand what you just said. Simple, simple, simple.
Right.
So don't overcomplicate that and use as few words as possible.
Yeah. So tell me if this is good. Most of the investors I work with struggle with time freedom.
Okay.
We help you find that time freedom.
Yeah, that's super simple
Yeah.
and concise.
I mean, that could,
You're
can lead to more
nailing
questions.
You're nailing the framework.
yeah.
Okay. Step 2 is just we do this, and it needs to tie into solving the issue that you named in step 1, whatever that external or internal conflict was. The third part of the one-liner is so that you can achieve this glorious future destiny. Now you're not going to say glorious future destiny, okay?
So that
that's
you can
essential.
visit your grandkids.
So if I just had this interview, or if I knew a little bit about this widow, and she said, what do you do? I might say something along the lines of, many of the investors that we work with struggle with the weight of all the management and the irregular cash flows that leads to. We help people get into the real estate that fits their needs so that they can have the time and financial freedom to spend their lives in the most meaningful way. You know, make something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's very concise. If you set the hook properly in step 1, you've got their attention. And I'm talking about who I work with the entire time. Even in step 2, when I say we do this thing for the people we serve.
Right.
To solve their problems so that they can have the future that they want. It's all about the prospect. You know very little about me, but I've answered, what do you do? And I help solve people's problems so they can have the future they want.
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what you're saying. And in between you're saying by doing this thing that we do really well.
Right. So good. So good.
That's the one-liner. And you can apply that to any business, any situation. You can just put it into an email. Somebody reaches out and has a couple questions about a property that they saw. You know, many of the people that we work with have similar questions when they're struggling with this thing. We do this so that they can have this future that they want. You know, and we just name those things. And the more you understand your ideal client, the better language you can choose that really speaks to them.
Yeah. With empathy.
The whole thing is empathy.
Right. Right. Yeah. I'm showing you that I understand where you are.
Yeah.
And I can help you. And
man, if it lands, they're left thinking, that guy gets me. He understands. Now you don't have to compete on price anymore. It's a whole different ballgame. So let me give you a scenario.
Okay.
And you write me a one-liner.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was gonna ask if we could do that, actually.
All right, so here's your scenario.
Okay.
All right, you're calling on or meeting at a cocktail party or whatever, a blue-collar business owner who owns the industrial property that their business operates out of, and they're growing. All right, that's the scenario.
Okay. Doesn't matter what exactly they're doing. They're blue-collar. They own the industrial building that their business works out of.
So maybe they're a contractor, maybe they're a plumber, maybe they're an electrical company, you know, something like that.
And they are growing.
So
I would think to myself, what would this guy be struggling with?
Yep.
Right? He owns his own building. He works out of that building. They are growing. So it seems like the issue that he's facing here, if they're growing, they would need more space, right? So that seems like that's probably the problem here. Right?
That would be the external conflict.
That'd be the external conflict. And for him, his internal conflict with this could be he worries that by growing, that's more on his plate.
Could be that.
Could be.
Yep. He could wonder if like he has the leadership capacity to grow beyond where he's at.
That's right. A bit of imposter syndrome.
Yep. Of lack of confidence. None of which he would probably admit.
He might be internally conflicted of is spending the money on either a bigger building or another building going to come back and bite him in the ass, right? Also, too, he bought the building to run his business. He's not necessarily looking to grow his portfolio as a commercial real estate.
Yeah, this might not have anything to do with investing in commercial real estate.
Right. But I'm just kind of thinking through, like, what are his internal struggles? Well, what am I going to do with this building? Do I sell it to get the other building, right? It's like conflicted on what to do with the building. Do I get another one? You know? How's that go?
You are left-handed.
I am, yeah. Do you forget that?
Evidently.
Okay, ready?
Ready. Let's hear it.
Yeah, most owner users I work with aren't sure what to do with their property as they grow. We simplify the options so that they feel confident in their decision.
Okay.
Yeah, I just try to make it as simple as possible. I'm sure there's more.
Yeah, so let's just let's iterate on this a little bit.
Okay,
so
cool.
Give it to me again.
All right. Most owner users I work with aren't sure what to do with their property as they grow.
As they grow. Okay, so
right.
Many of the business owners that I work with, owner user is probably not a term I'd use with anybody outside of the industry.
Term. Okay.
You know, it'd be more of a jargon thing.
Okay.
So many of the business owners I work with struggle to commit capital to acquire the space they need to maximize their growth.
Most business owners I work with struggle to spend more to maximize their growth.
If it's a business owner, I might use the word capital.
On a space they need to maximize their growth.
Yeah.
Okay.
We simplify the process by analyzing the market and their options so that they can go to bed with confidence that they've placed their business in the best possible position to grow.
That, like, another way I would think about saying that would be like, we help demystify your options.
I think simplify is a much better word there.
Simplify. Yeah.
Like, we simplify the process by analyzing the markets and your options that allow you to mitigate your risk
That feels like
to
too much to me.
It does.
Yeah, it's like
I think what I said before was something along the lines of, we simplify the process by analyzing the markets and your options. Like that feels about the right length.
Right.
Period. So that you can grow your business in the space you need while minimizing your risk.
Yeah.
I think I like the confidence part is really what they're after.
Right.
You can grow so that you can grow with confidence.
For them, like, it doesn't matter whether you're analyzing the market or not, right? Might be cutting hairs here, but I think this is good. Because this is what everyone's going to be dealing with as they try to practice this and get
whatever
it down.
you come up with, if you can simplify it,
right.
do it.
Right. Because what I'm trying to say is, like, you're gonna see your options clearly so that you can make a decision that allows you to grow and sleep at night.
To grow with confidence.
To grow with confidence. Yeah.
Yeah. So once you've wordsmithed this, you practice and you practice and you practice so that the next time somebody says, so what do you do? Many of the business owners that I work with, blah, 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 blah. Like it just comes out naturally as part of you. And if you're not talking to a business owner, but you're talking to an investor, you just take out business owner and you plug in investor and you take out, whatever the issue was here.
Growing.
And you plug in whatever makes sense to them. Or you're guessing would make sense to them.
Yeah.
And if it lands, they'll go, they'll nod their head and you'll know that it's landed, like you've set the hook.
Right.
Now you can resolve it with, part 2 and part 3. Now you are firmly the guide to their hero. And if they understand how you help people and they think of you as a guide after you give that answer, you have succeeded in deploying the one-liner. Like that's a very tactical kind of Swiss Army knife. Use it anywhere.
So good.
Somebody doesn't need to ask you what it is you do.
Yeah.
Right. That just kind of sets it up well.
For anybody listening to, just like what we did with the art of the voicemail, wordsmithing, a lot of wordsmithing having to go there. With this as well, practice.
Well, talk about that a little bit, especially as somebody who's been memorizing lines to the point where they're not rote memorization anymore.
Right.
They're a part of you that you can deploy in the moment.
Right.
So how does that happen?
100%. Even going beyond that, maybe there's a new skill I want to add to my toolkit, which would be a new accent. So that's all new muscles, new way of talking. And you've got to think about it a lot as you're doing it. You break it down to one phrase that you could hear somebody say over and over. Same with impressions. One phrase that you can hear over and over. The thing that has helped me the most is 1 hour a day. 1 hour a day for this amount of time, I'm going to put the work in to practice. If I did it 5 days out of the week, 1 hour a day for 3 months, I've got an accent that I can feel confident to put on my resume. And then when it comes to learning lines, or especially with improv, like if you have somebody you can do this with, like do what we just did there, throw me out some scenarios. Use ChatGPT in that way. Because once you have it locked in, it's there forever, and you forget about that few month time it took where it was hard and you were always thinking.
Sure. And this is not that hard.
It's not.
This is you spending, like, here's how I would suggest you employ this. One, I would love if you guys would send us your versions of this. Like, we'll critique it and give it back. So whether it's a comment, below the video or you want to shoot us an email.
commerciallyspeaking@gmail.com.
Yeah, commerciallyspeaking@gmail.com.
You can even send us a voice, like you just record a voice memo, email that to us, commerciallyspeaking@gmail.com.
Yeah. And we'll be much nicer than when we did the voicemail.
Maybe we could do that live on Fridays for a month.
Take 5 minutes, all right? Like set a timer, 5 minutes, and make the first draft of this one-liner exist. It won't be great. Just make it exist. And then you can iterate like we just did and try to simplify and kind of wordsmith it. This is a lot easier than learning an accent or learning a line. And once you have a draft that you like, don't go for perfect. Just get to a version of it that you like and say it 10, 15 times every morning for a week. By that time, it'll flow right off your tongue. Yeah. And then you're ready to deploy it in the wild or in real life and then use it on use it in an elevator. Like ask somebody what they do.
Right.
and see if you can bait them into asking it back.
Yeah,
or
put yourself in low-stakes scenarios where you could do this.
role play with somebody. Ask them to throw a scenario at you,
Mm-hmm.
and then see if you can come up with it on the fly based on that scenario and critique it.
And doing that on the fly and being able to change on the fly is another skill that you're adding to that foundation that you've already done. So there is, even though it is easier than learning an accent, there still is that whole component of being able to fill in the blank with different scenarios and different people that you're working on. But it ultimately comes down to, what is your intention? This will not be super successful unless you really do care about that person. Because I can see a lot of people doing this to have it, but not really connecting with the actually serving and caring about that person.
We had,
and that's huge.
I was talking to another CCIM instructor who's been instructing longer than me the other day, and we were critiquing a newer instructor. I remember when I was, first 10 times I taught the course, the same was true of me. I was focused too much, maybe necessarily so, on the content I was trying to communicate.
Right.
And I was not paying attention to the room and the students. Well, now that I've got more reps in, I know exactly what I want to communicate. Don't have to think about it a whole lot.
Right.
Because it's there. I've put the work in, and I've done it enough times that now I can spend much more mental bandwidth on reading the room.
Right.
And making sure what I'm teaching is landing, or like noticing that somebody's got a pained look on their face, and I can just stop and say, all right, where'd I lose you?
How long would you say that took to get at that place where you were flowing more than thinking about the content?
I would say probably after 7 or 8 times teaching.
That's a lot.
Every time I taught up to that point, I was teaching with someone else. And so, it was probably 15, 16 hours of instruction that I had in a week. I would average at that point probably 2 hours of prep time for every hour of podium time.
Sure.
So, do the math. Like, that was hundreds of hours at that point.
Right.
And then after I had enough reps, I remember all of a sudden I had a comfort level with the content where it really freed me up to concentrate on the room. And then it got a lot more fun.
Yes.
Like, I could interact more.
Yes.
Somebody could throw me a curveball and I knew exactly where to get back to.
Yes.
You could just handle whatever the room throws at you. And it's a lot more engaging at that point and more fun. And the same thing will happen here.
Yeah.
And instead of 15, 16 hours of content you have to learn how to teach in a given week, this is 45 seconds. But it's still going to take probably 100 or 200 reps.
Yes.
Which you can do in a week.
It will. And really, really connect with that intent. Do not lose what you're trying to do, which is care and serve the person. If you're just going off those words in the content of it, it is going to lack something. There's going to be an emptiness there. You could say every word the right way, but there's just something that's empty behind it, and it's no good. And also, when you go to write down that first one, write down a bad one.
It will be bad. Like, be okay with that.
This I've seen unlock for so many people that don't feel like they're good at something or could be good at something, that don't 100% understand the work that goes into being great at any given thing. But if you're a writer or you want to be a writer and you can't write your first screenplay, you just need to sit down and write a bad one. Just the framing of that I've seen help so many people.
Yeah.
Because it gets rid of having to perfect it. To be a perfectionist, you have to write a bad one. So write the bad one, then you can edit and you could go from there. You've got something to
Or
move
scrap
off
it and just
scrap it, write another
start
bad
over.
one.
Yeah, I mean,
or it will get better and better and better. But
yeah. And here's the other thing I want to say about this whole process. You can get to the point where you're way past rote memorization, that this is a sharpened tool in your pocket.
Yeah.
The Swiss Army knife that you can deploy in just about any situation.
Years and years and years and years.
And you can be brilliant at this and it not land with somebody. That's totally okay, because it tells you they're not your person. And that's valuable as well.
Huge.
So, like, the goal here is not to get everybody you ever say it to nod their head and be your client. The goal here is to step into that role as of a guide, help somebody understand how you can help them, and then see if they are your person or not.
Right. Yes. That's so good.
You're not trying to bat 1,000 here. You're trying to triage who might be your ideal client or not.
Yeah.
And if you get to the point where you're excellent in deploying this method, the result will be you'll have a really, really fast read on somebody.
Yeah.
Are they potentially your ideal client or not?
That's right.
And then you, having freedom of relationship, can choose whether you want to pursue them or not. Yeah.
That's so good.
That's the outcome that you really want.
Yeah.
The triage. It's not the success of every time you say it, you get a new client.
Right.
That's not what you're after here.
That's right. It's not about getting that new client. It's all about you being able to understand how to best serve this person. And
if it's a good fit.
You can understand very quickly, this is how I can serve them. And you can understand very quickly, oh, but they don't need this service. They need their service, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
And you can stop wasting your time or trying or, all this imposter syndrome, puffing up the chest to try to prove to somebody that you can do it and that you're so good. It's like that authority comes with confidence. Confidence comes with being bad until you're good.
Yeah, and with something like this, it's like be bad in private. Yeah. Be bad with somebody in your office you can role play and practice with.
Yes.
So that you
or at a cocktail party where it doesn't.
Yeah, the stakes are low.
Stakes are low. You're not actually trying. You're just trying to practice saying what you do and who you do it for. But
yeah, and well, this just popped in my mind. I've never done anything like this, but you could throw a dinner party, have 6 couples come over, and just say, "Hey, look, we're gonna have a little bit of a structure to this dinner.
Gamify it.
Oh man,
you could gamify it.
This is what." Last time I went to Strategic Coach, there was a dinner beforehand with the people who are going to be in the workshop the next day. And I've never gone to the dinner. But our group recently merged with another group. And this group had always gone to dinner the night before. I went this past time. Did I tell you about this dinner?
No.
This was fascinating. We sat at a round table at this restaurant, and there were about 16 of us. Now, here's what would normally happen. We'd all order. And then you end up talking to the person on your left or right, or maybe 2 people down and trying to, reach over, shake hands, all that. And then you'll have your little pocket conversations. And of course, I sat next to the one guy in the room that I knew.
You're good at that?
Yep, for sure. And you would just, watch other people have conversations across the table. But this is not what happened. The structure this guy said is like, look, here's how we do it. So 1 question, 1 person talking, 1 minute at a time. I get to ask the table a question, and then everybody has 1 minute to answer the question. And then when that's done, the next person asks their question of the group. Everybody has 1 minute. And we only got to the 3rd or 4th question, but the entire time I'm learning about the entire table.
Wow.
These were not surface level questions. Like at the end of the dinner, I felt like I had some really good insight about everybody at the table.
Wow. That's amazing.
I'm glad we got that in an episode. That was a really, really cool thing. I will never, if I can help it, miss that dinner again.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So in this case, have a handful of people come over and then have a little bit of structure. Say, look, I'm going to throw out a question, 1 minute answer. So if I didn't know you and I walked up to you and asked you, what do you do? How would you answer that? And then you can kind of engineer the environment where you can practice in front of people in a way that isn't just practice.
Right. And it's fun for everybody else too.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're on to something here with season 2.
Yeah, I think so.
Season 2. Yeah. Let us know if you'd like this. Like a span of 4 weeks where we go live on Fridays. We work on this with you all.
Yeah.
They pop in live and let's, give you 5 minutes and let's work through this. Do you want to get better at this? And can we help you do it? Because you got commercial real estate expertise right here, and you got an expert in performing and acting and really connecting to needing to have empathy, or not needing to have, but connecting to the intention behind it all and putting the practice in and stuff. I think, that'd be really fun. Let us know if you want to do it. If we got enough people saying, hey, this is great, let's do it, then
heck
we
yeah.
will. Yeah,
that'd be great.
Heck yeah, we'd love to do it.
Man, that could even grow into somewhat of a panel kind of thing. Like we could invite some friends of the show, some guests,
yes,
and bring them on and just have some people throw their stuff at us. And
I'd love to do lives where people can join in and they're getting way more value than just
listening to
information,
chit chat. Yep.
Yeah, it's not like we're just chit chatting. We're giving out but practical working of something. Mm-hmm. I think we've got two very unique perspectives on it too.
Yeah.
Prospectives.
Prospectives.
Yeah, perspectives. You have any shout outs? Yeah.
Oh, we went to Houston. I got to tell you, We went to Houston. We took our first commercially speaking trip, and we went to the CCIM annual governance meetings.
Yes.
Timmy and I both. And
I've never been to any of these.
No, you've never been to a commercial real estate anything, have you?
No, never.
I mean, we did the one live episode in Nashville at their CCIM event.
That's right. I've been to one, but that was like a...
But you were like a
lunch.
celebrity, man.
So were you. It was cool seeing you in the element.
That's my...
Yeah.
You know, that's what I do.
Right.
But like, it was really cool to see people react to seeing you live.
Yeah. It was so funny walking in to that lunch where you were talking about site to do business, right? Mm-hmm. You told me I didn't have to dress up. There'd be like one event that maybe you dressed up a little bit, right? And I was like, okay, cool.
That's true. I told you to be you.
You told me to be me.
But I didn't think you would do that.
I was practically wearing a swimming suit and this shirt, I think.
I think so.
Like no sleeves, short shorts, walking in, everybody's got business attire on. Yeah. I felt like, oh, wow. And I was getting looks, but people did come up to me and...
You got to meet Ian from Oregon, who's a big fan of the show.
Ian! Shout out to Ian.
James Milner, you got to from Boone, North Carolina.
Wrote James down. Yeah. James.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. James.
Bunch more.
I know that. Well, there's a few people that popped after me. Was Zane? I sat next to Zane.
Yeah. Illinois.
So shout out to Zane, his wife Taylor, and his daughter Pop.
Nice memory.
Yeah. Well, I remembered Pop was the acronym of his daughter's name. Shout out James. I want to give a shout out to Ian. I kept saying Ian from Portland. But no, Ian from Oregon.
We saw Danon Kirby, who's been on the show. Got to hang out with Danon.
Shout out to Danon. Yeah, there's so many people we could shout out, but those stuck out because Ian got on that mechanical bull first.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
right.
then I was like, I got to get on it, and then you got on it.
Yeah, I did the mechanical bull.
That's right. That's right. And as we're talking about this, if you wanted to pop over to YouTube, you could see the visual that I overlaid on us talking about it.
Awesome.
No, that was really fun.
And we had the inaugural ball for Steve Rich, who's the 2025 CCIM Institute Global President.
Shout out to Scott Overby, who's great there.
We got Scott Overby.
He did a great job.
Robbie
Scott was so good. Robbie? Yeah, Robbie.
Robbie. No, Scott is a fantastic MC.
He was great. And the videos were hilarious.
Engaging, warm, calm. You know, he's just cool and control. He does a really, really good job. But this inaugural was in Houston. And so there was a space theme to it. And they told people, you know, you can swing it. You know, it would be appropriate to go like astronaut or alien.
Right.
So we went as alien brothers.
That's right.
And I'm sure you got a picture that you can
Not only a picture, I got that 360 video.
Oh, yeah.
That video of that thing going around, which is so great. So great.
But that was a lot of fun.
That was so much fun. There was, who was it that's running for vice president of their chapter or of the...
Andy Edmonds from Phoenix.
Andy. Yeah. Shout out to Andy.
Yeah. And she won. She got elected.
Oh, did that happen already?
That happened.
Oh,
yeah, that happened today. Yeah. Yep.
Hey. Congratulations, cool. Andy. And then Kim
Baker.
Was it Kim Baker?
From the Louisville area.
The blonde?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kim, shout out to Kim.
All right.
If you haven't yet, hit subscribe, ding that little bell if you're on YouTube, if you're on a podcast platform, especially Apple Podcasts. If you leave a review, that really helps us out a great deal.
If you got any value from these episodes, that's a great way to help us continue to promote the show. Something about Apple and those reviews, it just really helps promote the show.
Very, very helpful.
I don't understand how, but...
I know with all the algorithms on the different platforms or whatever, you know, you get so bogged down with that. But our main focus is on bringing you the value that we are able to, but also we need to hear from you what you want to hear and if we can give it to you. Most of the listeners that we have are trying to understand how to invest in commercial real estate or to move forward as a broker. And we demystify that by you teaching me, who doesn't know anything about it, and I ask the questions that a lot of people might not ask, so that you can become the investor that you want to become. See, I just did it right there.
Oh, nicely done.
Right? Yeah. Leaves that right in there.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. So if you think this could help somebody else or somebody else that's interested, please share. Big ups to, I wanted to throw Zane out because Zane shared it with his banker friends, right?
Yeah.
People are sharing it. And I heard firsthand from all these people at this CCIM event, and I'm just so appreciative of every single one of you. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and we also invite you to subscribe to our weekly newsletter. It's at subscribe.wgbarron.com. It includes a lot of curated information from other sources on negotiation, leadership, how to create a great culture in your company, all kinds of things that I love to geek out on. It also includes latest episode of the podcast, so you'll never miss it. And be on the lookout for a survey that we're going to ask you guys to do. If you'll take a few minutes, we'll keep it really short. But we want to know more about our audience. We think we know who you are, but this would just really help us continue to dial in the value that we can deliver. And so there will be a short survey that we're going to put out. Maybe we can link it in the show notes as well.
Absolutely.
It's your opportunity to influence where we take the show in the future, and we'd love to know that.
Yes, we want you all to be a part of this as much as possible. We're all doing this together. Next week, we got Wes Gay. He is the brand master. It shows you a lot of what we talked about today is his expertise, what he does as his business. That conversation was fascinating. Yep. I loved it.
If you're interested in how you can market yourself and your business in a way that attracts the clients that you actually want, the next episode is for you. That's what we talk about with
100%. Wes. Great. Well, I love you, brother.
Love you too, man.
Bye, Alice.
Bye.